Welcome to another episode of Life Stories, where real-life experiences and unforgettable moments come to life. Today, we share a story about resilience, love, and standing up against adversity in the most unexpected of circumstances. Follow along as we delve into the journey of a woman whose wedding day is derailed by a shocking act of sabotage by her future mother-in-law. What follows is a testament to the strength of love and the determination to overcome even the toughest challenges. Let's begin the story today. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel to stay tuned for more incredible life stories. I never imagined I'd be standing in the bridal suite, watching my dream wedding dress burn to ashes. 30 minutes before I was meant to walk down the aisle, I had always envisioned this day, my wedding day, as one of joy, love, and happiness, a celebration of the union I had built with Ryan. But that image quickly shattered when my future mother-in-law, Diane, entered the room, her face contorted with a mix of triumph and rage. The elegant grand pavilion, which had been carefully chosen for its beauty and charm, suddenly felt suffocating. The soft fabric of my wedding dress, carefully selected after months of searching, was reduced to smoke and ash as Diane waved a lighter in front of my face. The flames were too much to ignore, too much to grasp. My 3 bridesmaids, who had been bustling about in preparation, stood frozen in shock, their lavender dresses stark against the blackened ruins of my gown lying at my feet. "You can't marry my son," Diane declared, her voice rising in hysteria. An uncontrollable force. She looked at me, the words burning with a venomous edge. "Ryan needs someone from our social circle, not some nobody from the wrong side of town." I stood still, the words hitting me like a cold slap to the face. It was as though all the effort, all the love and care I had poured into my relationship with Ryan meant nothing to her. She tossed her designer purse over her shoulder, her smirk evident as she looked at the destruction she had just caused. To her, it was a game, a way to manipulate and control her son's life. And I was merely a pawn. Despite the weight of her words, I felt an unsettling calm wash over me. I wasn't going to let her ruin this moment. I had worked too hard for this day. Too long to let her take it from me. I reached for my phone, my fingers trembling ever so slightly as I opened the camera app. "You have no idea what you've just done," I said, my voice steady despite the overwhelming emotions swirling within me. I could feel the heat from the flames of the dress. But it wasn't just the fire that was scorching me, it was Diane's words. Her disregard for the love Ryan and I had shared. She laughed, the sound brittle, almost glass-like, as she replied, "What I did, I saved my son from the biggest mistake of his life. You think a community college education and a job at a local agency makes you good enough for Ryan? My son belongs with Sophia Green. Her father owns half of downtown Chicago." A bitter laugh escaped my lips. But I didn't speak. Instead, I pressed a button on my phone, revealing to her the live stream I had been running for the past 20 minutes. On the screen was a perfect view of the ceremony space. The white chairs arranged neatly, the altar draped with floral arrangements, and, most importantly, the live feed of the bridal suite, showing Diane in all her destructive glory. Her face went pale as she realized the consequences of her actions. What is that?" she stammered, her gaze fixed on the screen. "The wedding live stream," I explained calmly, turning the phone towards her. "For Ryan's grandparents in Florida, and for my sister, who's deployed overseas. It's been running for the past 20 minutes. Capturing everyone arriving, the musicians setting up." I paused, letting the weight of my words settle. "And you, destroying my wedding dress, while publicly announcing how you feel about me." Her eyes widened with panic as she lunged for my phone. Turn it off now." But before she could reach it, Jessica, one of my bridesmaids, stepped forward, placing herself between Diane and me. "Mrs. Davis," she said firmly, "everyone just watched you commit arson. I think you need to take a moment to consider your next move." My phone buzzed with incoming notifications. A glance at the screen told me everything I needed to know. It was Ryan. He was coming to the bridal suite. His message filled with confusion, likely wondering what could possibly be happening. The scene had already reached the guests, and I could feel the weight of their eyes on us, even from miles away. "I think you've gone too far," I said to Diane, my voice unwavering. Do you really think this will stop me from marrying Ryan? After everything we've been through, you think a dress, a piece of fabric, can destroy what we've built? She scoffed, still trying to maintain her composure. The wedding's off. I'll just tell everyone you got cold feet. Ryan will be upset for a while, but he'll understand eventually. I turned the phone towards her again. But this time, I wasn't just showing her the live stream. I showed her the messages pouring in from guests who had been watching everything unfold. Her face turned crimson with rage as she understood that her plan to control Ryan was unraveling before her eyes. Are you sure about that? I asked, raising an eyebrow. Are you really sure? Before she could respond, the door to the bridal suite burst open, and Ryan stood in the doorway. His tuxedo slightly disheveled, his face a mix of disbelief and fury. His eyes flickered between Diane, the burning remnants of my dress, and me. His gaze softened, and I could see the raw hurt in his expression. The pain of seeing his mother destroy something so precious to him. Mom, Ryan said, his voice dangerously quiet. Tell me I didn't just watch you burn Emily's wedding dress. All while saying she isn't good enough for our family. I could feel the tension in the room tighten, the air thick with the weight of Ryan's words. And in that moment, everything seemed to shift. The room, once filled with warmth and anticipation, now felt like a battlefield, one where love and loyalty were being tested in ways none of us had ever imagined. Ryan's voice hung in the air, heavy and filled with disbelief. His eyes, still locked on Diane, burned with anger. The silence that followed felt suffocating. And in that moment, I realized how much I had underestimated the impact of Diane's actions. But then Ryan turned to me, his expression softening, a look of guilt and helplessness in his eyes. He stepped closer, his presence reassuring. I had no idea she would do this. He said quietly, his voice filled with regret. I'm so sorry, Emily. I don't know how to fix this. But I'm with you. I'll stand by you no matter what. His words hit me like a wave, washing away some of the tension in the room. I looked down at the blackened remnants of my dress. The dress I had dreamed of wearing on my wedding day. But I wasn't about to let this ruin everything. I had come too far. And I wasn't going to let Diane, let anyone, destroy what I had with Ryan. It's just a dress, I said softly, though we both knew it was much more than that. But your mother just showed us exactly what she thinks of me. And of us. She's made it clear for everyone to see. Ryan's face twisted with frustration. And I could see the battle raging within him. Part of him wanted to protect his mother. But the other part, perhaps the stronger part, wanted to protect me. His fiancée, the woman he loved. I can't believe this is happening. He muttered, running a hand through his hair. I'm so sorry, Emily. This is supposed to be the happiest day of our lives. But I wasn't about to let Diane win. I had worked too hard for this moment to let it be taken away by her selfishness. I had learned long ago that life wasn't about perfection. It was about adapting to the challenges that came your way. And right now, the challenge before me was to make sure this wedding went ahead. No matter what. Turning to my bridesmaids, I spoke with newfound determination. The ceremony is still happening. Just differently. A collective sigh of relief seemed to fill the room. I could see the doubt in their eyes. The uncertainty about what would come next. But they didn't hesitate. They trusted me. And together, we would make sure this wedding went on. Nothing, not even Diane's cruelty, could take away the love we shared. Ryan looked at me, still clearly stunned by his mother's actions. But he didn't question me. He took my hands in his grip firm. What do you want to do, Emily? I'm with you. Whatever you decide. I took a deep breath, trying to calm the whirlwind of emotions inside me. I have a plan, I said, my voice steady. It's going to take some work. But I'll make it happen. We'll turn this around. With that, I turned to Jessica, my maid of honor, and gave her a quick nod. Call Eliza from New York Bride. I said, see if that dress from the photo shoot is still available. I need it. Jessica's eyes widened in understanding. And without hesitation, she picked up her phone. She was already coordinating the dress retrieval, her mind racing with possible solutions. Just as mine was. I knew we had limited time, too limited to waste. But I wasn't going to let this disaster define the day. Ryan's father appeared in the doorway, his expression grim but composed. "What's going on?" he asked, his gaze shifting between me, Diane, and the wreckage of my dress. "What's the plan?" "We're moving forward with the ceremony," I replied calmly, locking eyes with him. "We just need to make a few adjustments." Diane, standing off to the side, her face now pale with shock, still clung to the hope that she could undo the damage. "This isn't what it looks like," she said, her voice defensive. "I was just testing the fabric. Wedding dresses are supposed to be flame retardant." Her attempt at an excuse only made things worse, her desperation to explain away her actions evident in every word. I didn't have the energy to argue with her anymore. The damage was done, and I wasn't about to waste another second on her lies. "Dad, get the dress," Ryan's father said to him, his voice cold and firm. "We'll make sure this wedding goes on." The room was filled with frantic activity as plans came together. Within minutes, Eliza, the owner of the bridal boutique, was on her way to deliver a dress, a backup dress I hadn't even known I needed until this moment. I couldn't help but feel a bit of irony in the situation. The dress I'd had my heart set on was no longer relevant. What mattered now was the love between Ryan and me. And that love was strong enough to survive this. As Ryan's father coordinated with the driver to pick up the dress, I turned back to Diane. "You really thought you could stop this wedding, didn't you?" I said, my voice steady, though inside I was seething. "But you can't. You don't get to decide our future." Her face twisted with rage, and she took a step forward, her voice trembling. "You have no idea what you're up against," she hissed. "You'll never be good enough for him." I met her gaze, unflinching. "Maybe not in your eyes. But that's not what matters. What matters is that Ryan and I are ready for this. We've been through too much to let you destroy it now." The clock was ticking, but I wasn't afraid. I was determined, and this wedding, our wedding, would happen. With or without Diane's approval. The minutes seemed to stretch on endlessly as we waited for the backup dress to arrive. But the tension in the room was palpable. Everyone was scrambling, doing their part to make sure the ceremony would go on. I could hear the murmur of voices outside the bridal suite, the sounds of guests arriving and the musicians setting up. Meanwhile, Diane, still seething with anger and disbelief, paced back and forth, casting occasional venomous glances in my direction. It was clear she wasn't going to give up without a fight. But what she didn't understand was that we had already won. When the driver arrived with the dress, my heart leapt. It wasn't the gown I had envisioned walking down the aisle in. But as I slipped into the ivory sheath with delicate lace details, I felt a sense of strength that I hadn't anticipated. It was a simple dress, far different from the one that had been destroyed. But somehow, it seemed to suit me even better. It felt like the perfect symbol of what I was, stronger, more adaptable, and more committed than ever before. As the seamstress worked her miracles with safety pins and quick stitches, my bridesmaids rallied around me, offering support and encouragement. Their faces were filled with admiration, but I could see the concern in their eyes, too. They knew this was more than just a wedding. It was about standing up for what I believed in. Standing up for the love Ryan and I had built together. Ryan returned to the ceremony space to speak with the guests, addressing the situation as best as he could. He wasn't the type to make speeches, but he had a way of speaking from the heart. And that's what mattered. I could hear his voice through the live stream, calm yet filled with conviction. "The day didn't start the way any of us expected," he said, his words steady despite everything. "But Emily and I have always believed that it's not the perfect circumstances that make a marriage work. It's how you handle the imperfect ones together." I smiled as I listened to him. He was always able to find the right words, even in the most difficult moments. His unwavering support was all I needed. I knew that, despite everything Diane had tried to do, our wedding was going to be a celebration of love and resilience. As I made my way to the ceremony space with my bridesmaids, I could feel the energy shift. The room that had once felt tense and uncomfortable now seemed to hum with an undercurrent of anticipation. Guests who had been uncomfortable at first, unsure of how to react to the chaos, now seemed genuinely supportive. I wasn't just walking down the aisle, I was making a statement. The fire that had threatened to destroy my day only fueled my determination to make it something even more special. When the doors to the ceremony space opened, the applause from the guests was overwhelming. It wasn't just the usual polite clapping you'd expect at a wedding, it was a cheer. A roar of support for what had transpired. My heart swelled with emotion as I walked toward Ryan, knowing that this moment, though imperfect, was ours. It was real, raw, and full of love. Ryan stood at the altar, his face lighting up when he saw me. "Ready to get married?" he asked, his voice full of warmth and affection. "More ready than ever," I replied, squeezing his hand tightly. We had made it through the storm, and now nothing, no one, could stand in our way. The ceremony that followed was a blur, a whirlwind of emotions, but it was beautiful in its authenticity. As we exchanged vows, we didn't just promise to love each other through the good times, we promised to face the challenges together, no matter how difficult they might be. Later, when we exchanged rings, there was a moment of panic. Ryan realized that the rings had been with his mother. But before he could worry too much, his father stepped forward, retrieving the velvet box from his pocket. It was a small but poignant gesture, a reminder that, even in the face of chaos, we could rely on those who truly cared about us. The rest of the evening unfolded in a way I never could have predicted. The reception was filled with laughter, dancing, and celebration. Guests who had once been unsure of how to react to Diane's outburst now seemed to relax, letting go of the artificial barriers that had once defined their interactions. The atmosphere had shifted, and I couldn't help but feel a deep sense of pride in how far we had come. As the night wore on, I received a message from my boss, Eddie, who had been following the entire ordeal on the live stream. "Your wedding is trending," he wrote. "Looks like you've started a movement. Everyone's talking about it." At first, I couldn't believe it, but as the evening continued, it became clear. Our wedding, despite the chaos, was becoming a symbol of resilience. It wasn't just about the dress or the ceremony. It was about standing up to adversity, about proving that love could survive even the toughest tests. The comments poured in, messages from strangers, from other couples who had faced similar challenges with toxic family members. They saw in our story something they could relate to, something that resonated deeply. "You showed us how to stand strong." One comment read, "Thank you for reminding us that love is worth fighting for." And as the night came to a close, with Ryan and I holding each other close, I realized something profound. This wedding wasn't just the beginning of our life together, it was the beginning of a new chapter in our lives. One where we could face anything, together. As Ryan and I made our way through the reception, hand in hand, I couldn't help but feel a deep sense of gratitude for everything that had unfolded. Despite the chaos, the challenges, and the tears, the day had turned into something far more meaningful than I could have ever imagined. It wasn't the perfect wedding I had envisioned, but it was ours, imperfect, real, and filled with love. Diane's attempt to tear us apart had only made us stronger, and I realized that the true test of a relationship isn't about how smooth the journey is, but how you face the obstacles together. Ryan and I had already proven that we could overcome anything, no matter how hard it seemed. As the evening drew to a close, I looked around the room. The people who mattered, the ones who truly supported us, were here. They saw us not just as a couple, but as a team, united in the face of adversity. We had built something beautiful, something unbreakable. Later, as we stood outside under the stars, Ryan turned to me, a smile tugging at the corners of his lips. "You're my rock, Emily," he said softly. "I'll never stop fighting for us." And in that moment, I knew that nothing, not even the toughest challenges, could ever break the bond we shared. To stay updated on more inspiring life stories, make sure to subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell for the latest videos.